Now, tonight on our front, we concentrate on the very elucidating write-up by Colonel Festus Abuaje to discuss his eye-opening policy brief. It's titled, "The Gold Rush Chaos and Golden Cares, How Ghana's Political Elites Are Selling Out the Nation's Posterity for Personal Gain." Drawing an extensive research, Colonel Abuaje critically examines the devastating impacts of illegal small-scale mining, known as Galamsey, on Ghana's environment, economy, and the society at large. But before this crucial conversation, let me first take you to the courts where lawyer Oliver Baka Vormawor, along with 11 others, protesters you know by now, they have been remanded into police custody for their involvement in the day 3 Stop Galamsey Now demonstration. Now, this brings to total the number of protesters arrested to 51. Baka Vormawor and another individual were absent from court yesterday, with their lawyers stating they were receiving treatment at the police hospital of the fallen ill. Oliver, we understand, faces 8 charges, including stealing, defacement of public notices, and offensive conduct likely to breach the peace. The case has been adjourned to October 8th by human rights lawyer with extensive experience on bail applications to the Supreme Court. And I'm sure you all know the man I'm talking about now. Martin Pebu was in court and joins me now to give us a better appreciation of the issues that pound us there. Many thanks to you, sir, for joining us. First, tell us, why were they denying bail in this instance?
Hello, is that Acquah?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
I hope you are doing well.
Yeah, good. Why were they denied bail?
Yes. First, because you sat through this court proceeding, just let us know what was the argument advanced for bail and why was it denied?
Good. So the main argument for bail was that the offenses, quite a number of them, unlawful assembly, offensive conduct, etc., are misdemeanors. In ordinary language, you say small offenses. You know, there is capital offense, the one that will attract death, like high treason. You see, recently there was a treason trial in court. Then we have third-degree offenses, second-degree, and misdemeanors. So misdemeanors are one of the lowest, from fines to prison. So nowadays, when 2 people even fight, one person beats the other, they don't jail the person. Often you will see that the person is fine. I'm not encouraging beating others, but I'm just giving an example. So most of the time, when you are slapped with a misdemeanor offense, you are confident that you come off with a fine or a small sentence. So the lawyers press upon the judge that we risk punishing these persons, as we started punishing them when the trial has not come to an end. All right? And then number 2, in a bail application like this, the main thing is that they are not a flight risk. That's one of the key things. You look at the Act 30, right? So the sections 96, etc. on bail. They tell you one of the key things is the flight risk. So this one, if the judge even thought that they are flight risk, then the judge will say, okay, bring your passport, etc. Right? But you don't find all that featuring. These are small offenses as against what these citizens sought to do. They sought to draw attention to the lackluster fight against Galamsey, the impunity that the executive, the president, and then the police have brought into our Ghanaian culture. They are refusing to prosecute Chairman Wuntumi, who has destroyed the Tanon Nimiri forest, etc. So if you look at what these young people have done, it's nothing. It pales into the shadow of what Chairman Wuntumi and etc. are doing, and more government officials getting licenses to mine in forests. You see sometimes Martin Mayer and lawyer Jan, etc. The other Jan, not Kwame Jan. The other Jan, getting licenses to mine in the forest, etc. These are the big things that these people are talking about. So, Raymond, with due respect, I know that, yes, some will say, yeah, we don't encourage lawlessness. Yes, I accept. But to block a road, to draw attention to Galamsey, is, with respect, not that bad. Yes, when you block a road to draw attention to Galamsey, it's not that bad. The bigger, because we face an existential threat. So if a citizen inconveniences other citizens a bit to draw the attention of duty bearers to the greater fight against all of us, the threat, it is like our sources of water. What did Ghana Water say? That today, when they treat the water, we get just about 40%. Can you imagine? And that they have to use chemicals which are several times stronger and cost more to treat our water. So that is the crux of the matter. So elsewhere, nobody would even charge these persons with any offenses. And you have acting president, that's Bawumia, in charge. Is that the kind of leadership he's been promising? Because I understand President Akufo-Addo has been out of Ghana for a number of days now.
I get your point. It's very possible.
Acting President Mahmoud Bawumia, and he's watching all this go on. And the court didn't also rise to the occasion. The judge failed abysmally to rise to the occasion to, defend citizens, free them, grant them bail on general terms, because it's a fight against a far bigger evil. What is blocking a road in order to draw attention, in order to, ginger the fight, in order to ratchet up the rhetoric in order to bring Galamsey front and center of our governor? What is blocking the road, Roland? Sorry, Raymond.
Mr. Akpebu, I will surely be coming to whether or not, in your opinion and from your experience, and this experience ought to be grounded, because when it comes to bail conditions and related matters, you have gone as far as the Supreme Court to seek clarity on these issues. So that I will be resting on and relying on subsequently in this conversation. But I want us to just get to know what happened in court. So the argument about not being flight risk and these charges being also misdemeanors were raised by counsel for these people. And what was the response of the prosecution?
So the prosecution basically said that the police are not done with the investigation and that these people should continue to be kept. Yes, and that, for offenses like this, people should be kept in custody because they are a threat to our society. Yes, those are the kind of arguments that the prosecution made.
They said these young people were a threat to the society.
Yes. They even said that A11 should be taken to the psychiatric hospital because the defense had said that he may have a mental condition or another. So the prosecution response was that, then my lord, let's have him locked up in the psychiatric hospital under the watch of the police. Yes, those were the arguments that they state this prophet.
Now, what then was the more persuasive argument the judge relied on to deny them bail?
So one, the judge said the addresses, that the key thing for the recuser, after he said he's not inclined to grant bail, said that the addresses of the accused persons are not known. The addresses, Mr. Acquah, that was the center of his healing. The addresses are not known.
Sorry, by address you mean where they live?
Yes, they don't have fixed places of abode. They've not been able to show that they are fixed of abode. Yes, so that on paper, that's the law. When you look at the two sections, that only one has several causes that they show that they have places of abode. Now, Mr. Acquah, what happens that on the first day of trial court, you ask any experience?
I seem to, Mr. Pebu, give me a second. I think your line is breaking up. If you could slightly reposition yourself, I'll get better reception. I am absolutely interested in the judge's reasoning on this matter.
Is it better?
I think it's fantastic now.
Okay.
Brilliant.
So the judge's central point was that they haven't shown that they have a fixed place of abode, fixed place. And I'm saying yes, because it's talk pure law. I'm saying yes, that's the part of this 96, 97 onwards, right? 97. It's part of it, okay? But it is only one out of several factors. And the second point I'm making is that when it is the fixed place of abode, it's usually no-brainer. You know what happens? When a lawyer tells the judge, I have a fixed place of abode, that's not the end of the matter. Before the person is released, when the judge writes, I have granted bail for a person, example, maybe Vormawor, blah, 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 maybe 1,000 Ghana by with surety, right? Now, what happens is that the police go to inspect the abode of those who are standing surety, those who are saying that they will bring Oliver anytime. We are using the Oliver as an example. So there is inspection of abodes, there is inspection of abodes for those who will sign the report. And then also for police, as a practical matter, they usually go, even if the guy doesn't, they usually go with the accused person to see where he lives, so that if they are not finding him, they know where to come for him. Who ask police, they will tell you. So they go with us to know where he lives. And then number two, the people who sign the bail for, they also, the police go to inspect their places. So that is the smallest, to be honest with you. If you ask me, is the smallest in terms of people we are weighting the factors. Is the smallest of the considerations, because it's verifiable. Whether the person has a place to live or not, it's verifiable. You go with him to his house, and that's what the investigators do. You see, and then, yes, so on a first day like this, a lawyer, Mr. Acquah, I want you to get, I know you are almost a lawyer, you're almost there, but I want you to repeat for the education of our viewers that on the first day in court, we don't write those things on paper. It's not a written application. The lawyer gets up and says, my lord, these are people, if they are employed, yes. If they are not employed, we'll show why, but still they have strong economic and social ties. So that is the strongest one. Strong economic and social ties to Ghana, so they are not a slight rate. So if the person has a fixed place of abode, lawyers usually say, yes, and he has a fixed place of abode, knowing that it's not every time that we say house number, this. It's not every time. A judge who wants the house number will not say, please, name the house number, let me write it. If he doesn't want that, so that's what we call practice. You call any senior lawyer and ask that the first day you go to court when you are seeking for bail, it's not every time we just write house number date. We don't say it orally. But if a judge wants it, we'll say it orally. But the saving grace is that the police will not release the person until they've gone with him to check his abode. And also they've gone to check the abode of the people who are going to stand surety. So usually these are administrative matters. They are administrative matters for the investigator and the registrar. So when a judge says that I'm not certain that you have a fixed place of abode, that is the reason I will not grant bail. Raymond, it's not a weighty reason at this stage. Usually, that's like based on the experience and the practice. You say, if my Lord wanted it, it's the most important he wanted. You say that yes, I reckon on day one, you don't come with a written application. So please, I want you to say orally, let me write down. And if you just write on paper and you don't verify, then there's nothing, you've done nothing. But what I'm saying is that if the judge doesn't ask for it, even orally, practically, before the man walks free out of that jail, the police will go and check the surety. I have even acted as, surety for accused persons before. I had to drive the police to my house. You drive and go, then you enter, then you tell you, take something that shows that it's yours, show evidence. They have different ways, or sometimes depending on who you are, if there's trust, even the fact that you're able to use your key. When you stand in front and you're able to open and your key opens the door, an experienced police investigator knows that, that's your house. It wasn't your house, how would you, but some will enter just to be double sure and say, show me your clothing or something that has your name in this house, maybe your book or something. So they do it. That is for the police. You ask, that's the practice. And usually judges don't refuse bail because I'm not checking off your address. That's what I said. You ask experience, so please, people who do criminal cases, please don't call anybody who is not conversant with criminal practice. He may be very successful in a different area. But I'm talking about day in, day out. This is our way. We go every day, okay? This is the way to do. You ask the average practitioner in criminal practice that is it usually the case that they say, no, I've not seen your place of abode, so I'll refuse bail? No, that one becomes weighty, a weighty, what you call consideration when the person is a foreigner. So for a foreigner, even if he lives in cantonment, you know that he can get up and run away to his country. But not for Ghanaians. Ghanaians, no. If I don't give the address orally to the judge, practically the police will go and verify these things, and before they will release the person. Yes. So sometimes you see a judge can grant bail. If the police haven't finished verifying, 3 days, 1 week, then the person is still in. Meanwhile, the judge has granted bail. Yes, he will grant bail today, but sometimes it can take even 1 month, sometimes 3 months, then the person is still in. Because the police have not finished the verification. When I say 3 months, that's usually when they say the justification. That's the surety should justify. If the judge says bail in the sum of 100,000, the surety should justify. That is to say, they should present property to show they are worth 100,000. So if you then say, let's say your property is land, then the police want to then conduct a search at land commission. So that may delay. But nowadays, thankfully, they take cars, vehicles, and other different treasury bills and the rest. So now it's a bit better. But it's still a huge problem. Maybe one day let's have a full discussion on it, because justification of surety is a huge problem when it comes to bail. So like I told you, a judge can grant bail today. You can stay in there for years. I have other examples, but I don't want to prolong this conversation in that direction so that we don't lose focus. So Raymond, for my practice, when a judge said, I'm not certain of your fixed place of abode, please, it's minuscule, and I dare say it's the smallest of the factors.
But does this judge give other reasons? Is this just one of the many issues the judge had raised, or this is the one and only matter he had raised?
For me, that is what I heard. The next thing he said was that by the next time they should put in written application. So he wants the things the lawyers have said orally in writing. Yes, I've appeared before my Lord Obriyebua several times. Yes, I mean, several is not even the word. Countless number of times. Yes, he wants things in writing, substance. So I heard to that one of the other, meaning he just doesn't want orally. But the bail is granted based on oral statements, not any law that can never stand based on lawyers. No, most of the time it's granted based on the oral statements and not that it's right. Usually, the court will ask that it's right when it turns out that the crime is very big, like murder or attempted murder or robbery or yes, that's the ones that usually judges that people are written up case, but not for Muslims in our faith. And then let me also add, the aspect of Oliver. Yes, my Lord says that Oliver is still on bail, and there is a part of the law that are said in the 97 mentioned earlier, which says that when you're on bail and then you go and commit another offense, then bail should not be granted. That type of thing. Yes, so Oliver, that was the key thing. But there is a decision called Acquah versus the Republic, where Taylor James, wrote a very persuasive opinion and kind of did away with it. I don't want to say the word I'm saying. No, let me know if you.
Okay,
so now was not persuaded by
sorry,
that
let me get this clarity.
Reasons why a judge should not rely on it. So that in the case of Oliver, that was the basis that persuaded the judge that he's already on bail and he's alleged to have come to commit other offenses. So that is a good reason to keep him in custody.
Now, Martin, forgive me, but I need clarity on this point. You say Oliver was isolated, and in his case, the same argument that they could not trace the abode of the people was not applied. There was a different reason adduced for denying him bail. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so apart from everything else, yes, Oliver's specifically singled it out and mentioned that under so the prosecution raised that argument. Remember your earlier thing that what are the arguments? So the prosecution argued that when you said I'm not where I am, I don't have this law, I don't be exact. So when you look at the 19 in those there's one of them that says that one of the reasons that the bail is that the person standing before him had already been involved in another offense and had been granted bail. Then whilst he was on bail, he went and allegedly committed another offense.
Okay.
So he really has offense in court. You've been granted, then you go again and another offense. So then that would the judge, the court can say. And then I'm saying that the time they go to night, they were before a lot of water has under the sea. Even as far back as 1970, October, the Republic, I think it's by 1976, Taylor J said that position stop, and he says this is even in England, they don't use it. So in October, the Republic, the guy was he was at being on one offense, and then went and allegedly committed another. When it came before Taylor, the prosecution and Taylor threw it up and give.
And once again, Mr. Perry, forgive me. Once again, I seem to be losing, and I'm absolutely, and I know that many who are watching us this evening are interested in the elucidation that you are giving us on this matter. The only difficulty is that we are struggling to hear you. So if I could impress upon you to reposition yourself once again, it may help us have a better reception for you, sir.
Okay, let's see if it's better.
I think this is fantastic.
Okay.
So you were saying that...
I was talking about Taylor J. So should we repeat the last 1 minute?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I said for Oliver, the judge mentioned that he's already on bail. Based on the argument, so the prosecution argued that he's already on bail and he's going to commit another offense, that's second offense. But remember that the first offense is not been found guilty. The trial is ongoing. But the prosecution raised it because you find that in the section 96, 97, 98, those provisions of the Act say that one of the reasons the judge refused bail is that the person, the accused person, had already admitted him on a second offense. And then whilst he was on bail, he went up to the second offense and he brought back 40 days. So is that the judge not granted it? And I'm saying that yes, Raymond Acquah, that is our law. It's in there, but that is the access. But remember, the law is what the judges do to say, not just what is the Act of Parliament, because the judges have the right to interpret the law. So in 1976, in the case of Oko versus the Republic, this matter came up, and Taylor J did not apply that law because he said, no, among others, it erodes the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. And that even in England, where they first used it, they were no longer using it. This is verifiable. We can check the case of Oko versus the Republic. So I'm saying that rule has been interpreted by Taylor J. That decision has not been set aside. And this judge, this case, Justice West Court, it's a smaller court, it's a circuit court. So he's bound by the decisions of Taylor J., who was a high court judge. So that provision, he said that don't apply it like this because it erodes the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in Article 19. Okay, so I think we've gone very fast and rank.
I certainly have to quickly conclude on this basis. What can the representatives of these individuals, desirous of appealing to a higher court, do?
Yes, so plans are afoot to take the matter to the High Court. So, yes, we call it appeal in ordinary sense, but generally we call it a repeat application. So we will not file. So this one does not require you to file notice of appeal. Okay. No. But once for ordinary communication, what our citizens understand, appeal sends a certain meaning. But also maybe some lawyers listening want the right. So we agree that in ordinary communication, we can say they will appeal to the High Court. But technically, it is not an appeal. What is called is that it's a repeat application. So you go to the High Court and repeat. So it's a written application, but you don't add a notice of appeal. And that's what I want to say. So technically, it is not an appeal, but colloquially speaking, or for purposes of effective communication, you can call it an appeal, but technically it is not. It's a repeat application in the High Court.
I guess all that you have said in the sum is that you do not agree with the judge's decision to deny bail.
Absolutely, not at all, not at all. And in actual fact, this denial of bail has set our democracy back. Yes. It has set our democracy back because these are minor offenses. And let me repeat, we are faced with an essential threat. Everybody agrees Galamsey is about to wipe out the whole of Ghana. So we need duty bearers, the executive, the police, to do something. So because it's not done, so when citizens go out there to do, let's call it a stunt, when citizens engage in stunts to draw the attention of the nation, you don't punish them in such a manner. Go through, as I said, number one, don't even try them. But if you insist you will try them, at least admit them to bail. Don't start punishing them. This remand is equivalent to a punishment. And that same Act 30 says that don't use bail to start punishing citizens before. No. This renders the Supreme Court decisions. You know, the Supreme Court has been trying to sanitize matters of personal liberty. So you see table number one, now they don't jail surety. That's a case I took to court. They used to jail the surety if the accused ran away. We'll discuss the merits and demerits another day. Then I went to court, table number two. Then they said all offenses are bailable. Table number three is not relevant for this purpose, so we'll leave it out. Then I went to court again in table number four, the Attorney General number 4. That is the 48 hours is 48 hours. So if you arrest somebody, then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, public holidays, you count them as part of the 48 hours. So you see that the Supreme Court is doing their bit to expand the frontiers of personal liberty. And so this decision by the Circuit Court has eroded everything the Supreme Court has done.
And I'm grateful to you for your time this evening. Lawyer Martin Pebo was in court, and as he just listed the various cases he has taken to the Supreme Court to seek clarity on bail conditions, on applicable bail periods, and also the 48-hour period and its applicability. He believes that the decision to deny bail to the people who were in court today as protesters, people who were in court today because of that Stop the Galamsey protest, he did not think it was in the right direction. Now, we still have in this conversation a man who's been with the police service for a very long time. And I'm talking about ACP Benjamin Agojo, retired. The ACP recently had cause to complain about the treatment meted out to these protesters in the first place and the management by the police. Let me get him to let us appreciate exactly what his concerns are. So, ACP Benjamin Agojo, you are welcome, very especially to UPFront. Just spell out for me what your difficulties are with how the police handled the protest last Saturday.
Mr. Raymond, good evening. I'm grateful for this opportunity. Reading my post, you realize I was just sharing my thought on the fact that police doesn't seem to have changed over the years in policing our demonstration. As far back as the colonial period, even as far back as that time, when the leadership of the colonial masters ordered their personnel to shoot, they declined it. It was the boss himself who took the gun and shot at the people. Today, we are talking about post-independence. We are talking about 2024. And we see protesters being beaten up and treated as if they are common criminals, especially when they are dealing with an issue such as Galamsey, something that we have Ghanaians have been so docile about and have allowed this government the space to destroy our environment with impunity, and we are unable to talk about it. And these few people decided to talk about it, and we look on. Sometimes I don't even want to blame the system too much. I blame us as Ghanaians because we really fail these people. But back to the point I was making.
Yes, briefly.
You see, even all the governments over the years, from 1992 have not treated demonstrators well. I remember Let My Vote Count.
No, I get your point. I just want you to drill down to just what happened on Saturday. Forgive me because of my time.
No, I mean, definitely that was uncalled for. That was barbaric. The point is that you arrest people, some of whom were just onlookers. We have seen the videos. You just arrest people, some of whom are onlookers. Even if they did what they have been accused to have done, they still have their rights. They cannot be held incommunicado. Their rights have to be read to them. They don't have to be molested. I listened to my counsel, Martin, talk about the denial of bail. And I'm so sad that the criminal justice system, the justice system is failing Ghanaians so seriously. People must wake up to this reality because it is happening to these people today and it will happen to another person. My point is simple. We must stand up against this kind of abuses. Otherwise, when it comes to our turn, there will be nobody to help us defend us.
What do you expect the IGP to do about this now?
No, you see, this is simple. Granted that these people have been arrested, they must be treated in a very humane manner. They could even be granted bail to appear before court. They should be allowed, their family should visit them, their counsel, they should be allowed to have their lawyers to talk to them. In their presence, they must have their lawyers present before their statements are taken. These are basic things in law. And I don't think that the IGP himself would like to be treated the way these people have been treated. And therefore, I think that the IGP should have done better, and especially an IGP who is being touted as the best IGP by the media and other people. I don't think that this is what we expect. And that was part of my post. And in an era where we have a human rights lawyer, I mean, if other presidents or other regimes have done this, I expect some kind of improvement in what is happening now. I do not expect it to happen under this president. I do not expect it to happen under this IGP. That is the point I'm making.
Do you support calls for the head of the IGP?
I have always supported calls for his head, not just in this matter, but in the deaths of police officers who were killed in situations that were so questionable. I have always supported that he is not fit to be where he is, frankly speaking. And this is evidence that the IGP is a very brutal person, and his head must roll over this issue.
I'm grateful to you. I wish we could do more of this, but thank you so much, sir, for joining us. And I was talking to ACP Benjamin Agojo, retired. Early on, I spoke to lawyer Martin Pigbo about what happened in court, and this is related because I did tell you that there is a 16-page policy brief that was released by my guest in studio. And that brief seeks to put into proper context. We can now turn our attention to the ever-distinguished Colonel Festus Aboagye, retired, as he delves into how Ghana's rich natural heritage is being jeopardized and what can be done to save it. Forgive me for skipping to perhaps what I consider to be the meat of the matter. You mentioned high-level political involvement in Galamsey. How has political complicity perhaps destroyed or deepened the crisis, and what can be done to insulate these anti-Galamsey airports from political interference? You're welcome, sir.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for the question. I think it's a reality that the relevant laws, as alluded to or outlined in the brief, all the interventions by different stakeholders, including the security services or security forces, all of them were rolled out by the government. And the government has a constitutional mandate for their enforcement. Now, what is clear is that the government failed to enforce the laws as required because key elements in government have been involved from the word get-go. And the evidence can be found in the report by Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng. It can be found in the recent publications by the Media Foundation for West Africa and other publications by the media. Ministers of government, regional ministers, regional chairmen of the ruling political party, the DCs and the MCs who have been appointed by the president are all on record as having been involved. And that is where the weakness is. It doesn't matter what policies and measures we roll out. If that political deficit is not addressed, we are not going to be able to go anywhere. So that is where actually the focus should be. Every other thing is just a discussion that is a waste of time.
Oh, I see.
Yes, seriously. We can sit here, for instance, the new 5-member
ad hoc committee.
What are they going to do? Because whatever they have to do has been rolled out in all the mining laws. Let's leave the PNDC law 819 or whatever, 1989. Let's leave that one out. All the other laws from 2015 or even prior, the amendments thereof and so on and so forth, have all been the responsibility of the government to enforce. And the government hasn't done that. Indeed, there is evidence from the Media Foundation report that in 2022, when that amendment was made, vesting the licensing authority or powers in a commissioner or a minister or whatever it is, contrary to what the Constitution was saying, people had lined up with their corporations to be licensed. So as soon as the LI was passed, there you go, they entered the forest. At least the president himself admitted in public that his regional chairman, if I'm not mistaken.
That's true.
Yes, the person who calls himself Chairman Wuntumi, that he had entered the forest. And the president thought that he was doing us a favor by insulting us at the time that he was talking. Chairman Wuntumi, Akunta Mines, was no longer in the forest. We don't appoint presidents, to leave people off the hook like that. So if you can't deal with your own men, how are you going to deal with the rest of the population? Indeed, the scale of call it artisanal mining, call it small-scale mining, call it Galamsey, the scale of it is due to the fact that one dimension of the policy was that government was going to find alternative livelihoods.
Yes.
Which it failed to do.
NAELP was the program.
So, one publication is saying that there are about 1 million people, largely Ghanaians but also foreigners, involved in Galamsey. And another 5 million people who depend on Galamsey. Because those 1 million people didn't find jobs, and because they thought that they were being abused, cheated by the authority whose officials were already in Galamsey, they also entered the fray. Now it's completely out of hand. But the other dimension that I didn't quite mention in the paper is that the whole brief, all the discourses that we've been having, are about national security. And national security, not as Ghanaians understand it, to be regime security. Because I've come to realize that members of the media and other, Ghanaians say, when you want to do anything like this demonstration, they think that is going to threaten national security because it's going to threaten the government. That's not what national security is about. It's about the human security of Ghanaians.
Okay.
So all the impact that have been written about, that I've outlined in the paper, the health implications,
That's true.
the pollution of the water bodies, the biodiversity issues, the children who are being born now and into the future with all manner of issues. That is human security. And that is what national security is about. There is also this idea that I didn't quite put it that way in the paper, that in principle, when you have parts of a state where the state is missing, is absent, and the intellectuals call it ungoverned spaces.
That's true.
There's no police, there's no official, DC, whatever, nobody is there.
No regulation.
They themselves are their own authority. And there is evidence that militias have been established, including not too far away in Eastern region.
Okay.
Remember the narrative by my good friend, the regional minister,
Seth Echampo.
Seth Echampo, Honorable, that when he ventured into a Galamsey mining site, he was attacked by armed men. I mean, the media, including Erastus, have a plethora of reports. There are militia with their own uniforms, their own slogans, their own emblems, their own commanders, their own communications in Ghana, on Ghana territory.
That's perfect definition of militia.
Precisely. A militia is any group of armed men who have organized themselves, not for state purposes, but for whatever agenda they've set for themselves. Now, in those areas, you come close to what is happening or what happened in Liberia and Sierra Leone. When you talk of bush wives and sex slaves, now wherever these Galamseyers are, you find a group of women, some of whom have not gone there willingly, but have been trafficked. So this Galamsey thing is going with human trafficking on Ghana soil.
Wow.
Women, I'm told, from Imo State, Nigeria.
All over the place.
Yes, over there. To service.
Establishing brothels.
Yes. In fact, the brothel is owned by one of the leaders who runs the brothel and collects the money. You see it? So we're talking of sex slaves and bushwives. We thought that that was, 1990s Liberia. They're happening. You see what I mean?
I get you.
This is a total failure of government, if that's what it is. But the scary thing is that when you have these narratives, like Liberia, where the rebels controlled, not mines, but rubber plantations, we know what happened. So if we are having these militia armed in an area where we already have instability and weapons, indeed, there are former rebels from across our borders who are there. From Côte d'Ivoire, former rebels who have run away from Ouattara, who have come to Ghana to mine. There are Niger people who are here, there are Togolese, there are all manner of people. Then you are the Chinese, who are a law unto themselves. Now, if this is not national security, what is it about? It's not about government. If the government wanted to secure this country and protect the health, and our waters, and our forests, and indeed our posterity, then going against that effort would have been a threat to national security, not when the government itself has reneged on its responsibility. It's a very serious thing.
No, you paint the picture with a lot of seriousness, especially
Seriously.
rebels and all the other things coming in.
Because if you talk to those of us who have been in conflict, post-conflict areas, not only in Liberia, 2020, 2022, I've been in South Sudan.
Okay.
And I've seen what goes on there. There are officers who have been in DRC, some have been in Mali, where there was the MINUSMA, UN mission that recently closed down. They've seen how a state can be destroyed when the state itself is not able to control this Galamsey. The other thing that worries me, that disturbs me is, And in due respect to him, the president of the National House of Chiefs, who was telling whoever, his audiences, including the government, to allow Galamsey, or he didn't say Galamsey, to allow mining to go on.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Asantehene Oseya Akoto in 1831. He wrote to the British to reinstate the slave trade. Why? Because the abolition of the slave trade in 1807 was affecting the grandeur nature of the Asante Kingdom. Its economic power, its military power, its standing, and so on. Now, in 1847, the Dahomey king, called Gizu, also wrote to the British that, look, please bring back, the slave trade. Because I'm losing about the 8,000 slaves that I sell annually and reap $300,000. Now, what I'm asking Nananom and all Ghanaians, including the government, is that what we are talking about here is like what the slave trade was about. It's about the future of humanity, the future of Ghanaians. That's what we are talking about. Well, the other sad thing is that you hear politicians say, oh, if we stop now, the waters will clear in 1 week. What absurdity and what ignorance.
But it's not borne by the facts, actually.
No, clear water doesn't mean that the water is consumable.
That's true.
We're talking of heavy metals that you can't see with your eyes. So why did the white man, the colonial man, ban the use of mercury in 1932? He banned it to stop the use of mercury. Now, 1989, PNDC law, legalized Galamsey and didn't pay attention to enforcing the ban on mercury. Now, mercury is all over the place. Cyanide is all over the place. And the reports or the results or the impact, what Professor Sampene, for instance, is talking about is going to be long-term. And then even if you stop this devastation of the forest today, and you plant trees, some of which probably are 100 years old, are you saying that you plant a tree today, and that is the end of the story? In the climate change era, how are we going to, now we're going to find money in order to address the impact of climate change on Ghanaians, including this idea that very soon, if we're not careful, I think I've heard 1925 or thereabout, that 2025, we may have to import water. Or we may have to now purify, distill seawater. You see what I mean? Why can't we preserve the environment? For the environment to provide us with the natural water. Now, where is that money? Galamsey money. Where is it? You have this brilliant professor, Enim, Ghana Statistical Services, talking about 2 million Ghanaians who are not in employment, not in education, not in training, NEET. So if Ghana managed the Galamsey and used the proceeds to create jobs, indeed that is one of the, the benefits of gold mining, to address the structural problem of unemployment. So the youth will not go to the forest, arm themselves, and destroy, the environment. I mean, we're in serious trouble, seriously. And I'm not sure whether Ghanaians know where we are now.
I've heard government officials speak. Do you think they have an understanding and appreciation of how you have captured and brought in all the security dynamics, all the international dynamics, and all the health and related, you call it human security dynamics here? Do they have a proper appreciation of all of these angles?
They may have or they may not have. But one thing that is clear to you and me is this idiotic, and I want to use this idiotic thing, about people who, like what I've said, the water can purify itself. So it's not a big issue. But people who have been voted into power in order to govern the state, and then they turn out to tell us that the party is superior to the state. Party here, Sika. Party needs money.
Yeah.
And therefore, wherever you're going to find the money, even if you destroy the state and the party gets money, that is all right. Is that not idiotic? Because in a democratic state, that is the environment within which parties organize and play their roles. So if you destroy the state, where is the state within which you're going to do your party politics? And that is a danger. That people are entering politics, as you know. The current campaigning that is going on. I mean, the $8 million T-shirts with number 8 here and there that some journalist is talking about. These huge transport, buses. This balloting that took place to the shame of Ghana's democracy. That adults, bald-headed, that you thought were sensible, in plain view of the camera, were passing ballot numbers. And they are not ashamed. They are not ashamed. Yeah. I mean, politics has become a joke. And I'm hearing that. I think you might have come across that audio. That, look, they're going to buy some of the positions, $5 million US, so that the numbers will change. So that one party which had 8 will no longer have 8. Then they can use whatever election material. I mean, politics, democracy, electoral, whatever it is, have become a joke. And that is the serious thing. Because I have argued with Kweku Bako on certain platforms, and I've written in some of my policy briefs, that the only way to stop a coup is through good governance. Simple, period. If you don't govern well, and you govern the country as we are governing it now, where ministers are destroying the country, in fact, as I said, selling the country for their personal gain, then you are creating a situation where we go to vote, and you know the machinations going on about the electoral register. Without a register, a credible register, you don't have a credible election. And yet the EC says that I will not agree for us to audit the register. But people think that, no, the register has been doctored, it's compromised. And we think that is a joke. But we've seen it in many places. Because we are Ghanaians, we don't want to create a situation where we go to the brink and fall into the abyss. You see what I mean? Okay. And I expect that everybody must talk.
I think that we have just scratched the surface of this conversation. I will therefore, because I have to wrap up this conversation, ask for one proposed solution, briefly. Then we can actually continue this conversation at a subsequent date.
Raymond, there's no proposed solution. All the solutions that I've outlined.
A list of them.
Technology, this and that. Look, where are the drones that we procured?
Because
where are they?
I remember, under Minister Mewu, that was our plan right from the beginning.
So even if we are not using them, where are the drones? Every proposal that anybody puts on the table will not work until there is responsibility on the part of government, political world, period. If we don't get to the stage where today, before 7 December, and indeed if we go to 7 December, I don't want to do party politics, but this government is not fit for purpose. Nobody must vote for anybody involved in this government who has failed to address Galamsey. Because I'm telling you, if we cross 7 December with the same political actors, it's going to get worse. And by 2028, there will be nothing that looks like Ghana that you and I will be proud of.
Colonel Festus Aboagye, we have to leave it here, but this is a conversation we have to continue subsequently. And I'm grateful for your time this evening. And ladies and gentlemen, many thanks to you for also joining tonight's edition of UPFront. This conversation surely continues next week.